Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason with Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone. Today with Ann Sermons Gillis. Hi, Ann. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. I'm good.
So,
Thank goodness. Thank goodness each moment is fresh. Each moment is new, because every moment up until this moment, I've had technical difficulties. And so in this moment, which is fresh and new, shining and clear, everything is good.
well, everything. It gets to be either an obstacle or a thing to push through to go to the next thing. So
Yeah.
now you've mastered Be Live. You probably could get your certificate in Be Live. And you're all set. So everyone, I wanted you to meet Anne, because she's a reverend besides that. But I want you to know about all the wonderful things that she offers that are going to change and uplift you, because we know so many things are coming across the news, on your desk, in your business, that really are they're heavy. They're really heavy. So Anne is here to give us some inspiration of how to not have life be so heavy, because she actually has her own church. She co-founded Connection Church in Memphis, Tennessee, and she served at this as a senior spiritual guide there until 1998. And she moved to Houston, and she has so many things that it's going to be hard to figure out what to talk about first. But she's a founder of EZosophy.
EZosophy, like philosophy.
Okay.
EZosophy.
Okay, so can we start there, because and actually start with wherever you want to start to explain your journey, so that people can relate to what you're doing. Wherever you want to start, fine.
Okay. What? You're suffering? I suffered. That's where my journey started. I felt so darn bad that I had to do something about it. And I wasn't going to stay in the same place forever. I did stay there for a long time. And I have moved in and out of it, because you know what? It's addictive. It is addictive to look at all the exterior stuff and to stay focused on that. And so my journey, it actually began when I was 4 years old, because I had a sort of an out-of-body experience. I was undergoing ether, and I went into this tunnel. And after that, I had a deep curiosity for everything. So that's where I started out. And even when I was in a senior in high school, I had become the president of my youth group. I spoke when I was 16 to the whole congregation, and I had them in tears. And I just was on this relentless spiritual journey. And until 17, everything was going great, until my Christian education minister said, you know what? She said, if you think that God is a Santa Claus up in the sky, then you need to go back to the drawing board. My whole world collapsed, because to me, I had a Santa Claus God. I had tried to be so nice and so good and tried to please everybody and everything, that I just collapsed, because that plan didn't work. In other words, I mean, that was it. You're good, everything works out good. You're bad, nothing works out good. So that was my whole philosophy in life. And so after 17, I fell into this deep hole for a long time. And then I think in 1976, after meditating for many years, after fasting, after doing all kinds of things, I had a deep mystical experience in 1976 that lifted the veil. And the veil has gone up and down many times, but I really do know the other side, and I feel comfortable with that. And I know that that is who and what I am, for the truth of who I am. So that's kind of the tiny little.
So was it a near-death experience that you had?
I actually had ether.
Yeah.
And in that ether, and I heard from someone that there are many people that do have kind of an experience like that. And so it was ether. Now, I don't know if you're hearing it, but I'm here. Are you hearing another sound? Okay.
Nope, you sound fine here.
Okay, I'm hearing some little people talking in the background. So maybe those are my guides. But if they are my guides, I would like to ask you to speak in a language I can understand, because this particular language is it's not my language.
Oh,
But anyway, but it's okay. But anyway, it was ether, and in this I went through a tunnel, and it wasn't until really just a few years ago when somebody mentioned how people had these experiences on ether that I understood what it was. I just basically went into the tunnel and into the light. And as I'm saying, I don't remember anymore, but I do remember that I came out with a zealous interest and curiosity. And when I was 5 and 6 years old, I went to all the neighbors and I would go to their churches. I went to everybody's church. I went to revivals. I took my mother to church. She didn't even go to church at the time. And I took my mom to church. So.
Wow. So the reason why I asked about that is I'm involved with the the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And a lot of people talk about the tunnel, and that's why I asked, I'm fascinated with all of it. I didn't have a near-death experience, but I had a spiritual white light experience 15 years ago. So, but I think I've always been fascinated with all of this. So
yes. Here, let me just tell you, and now what my goal became after near-death experience, and I think the goal becomes is now let's have a near-life experience.
Right.
Let's really dive into reality and see what it is, because in the East we talk about the Maya, the illusion, and almost everything we see is an illusion. It doesn't mean it doesn't have form and mass, but it means that everything is really just a product of what we're telling ourselves.
Right. Right. Okay. So that's where we want to go to the easy side of it. So you created this movement because everything seemed hard. You're creating a movement that's easy, right?
Right. Well, let me tell you about the way that it started. When I did have a church and I had to speak every Sunday morning, I would write out a talk the day before, and I sat down and I wrote these 7 vows and gave them the next day, and I put them in my newsletter, and it was nothing really big. It wasn't a big deal, but people seemed to resonate with it. It's kind of like what is it, Ruiz? What is his name, Ruiz?
Ruiz.
Yeah.
There's 4 movements.
Yeah. Let me just ask you something. If I turn off my Facebook page, will it turn us off?
No.
Okay, because I think maybe that's where I'm hearing the noise. Okay, good. And so anyway, I put that out. I put it out in my newsletter. People requested it. I had several hundred requests for these vows. And that's basically how it all started. And then one day I was taking a shower near then, and I said, I had this question that it seemed to be so difficult. And I said to the ethers, I said, what's the solution for this? What's the solution for this? And the answer came very easily. And I went, oh my gosh, that was so easy. And the voice that I heard back was, aren't you my easy disciple? And I go, oh my gosh. And everything just in me took attention. Now, this was in the 80s. And really the idea of bringing ease into the spiritual narrative was not there until then. And I give myself credit or hope that I've had some influence in bringing that into the narrative, because you will see it now. But, I've spoken to hundreds and thousands of people about making our lives easier and the honor that it is. It's not about being indolent or lazy. It's about a non-efforting flow that we can join into. And it also is important to point out how addicted we are to different dramas that are not important. Even as tiny of a thing as taking the trash out.
Yep. Well, we're on overwhelm. That's why I was so excited to have you talk today, is that yesterday was I think it was yesterday, what is the day that they say everyone gives up on their New Year's resolution.
Oh, really? Let's see. Okay.
It lasts 11, 12 days, and then they go, well, I'm not going to be able to always be on time or get up an hour early or whatever their New Year's resolution was. And that's where it really isn't that hard to do these things. We've got these storylines running that make things hard, what if we could just flip them? What if we could just flip it to the easy side, right?
Yeah, and so the question is, before I get ready to do things, there's two things that I can ask, and that is, how can I make this easy? And let's have fun with this. Let's have fun with this, because I'm thinking, why am I doing this if it's not going to be enjoyable?
Right.
And I mean, maybe cleaning the toilet may not be enjoyable, but it actually can be.
Okay. so so we do have Elsie here, and we have and Elsie says hello. Happy
Hi.
everything. And then we got Jade Rader here. So and we've got, oh yeah, I just have those guys here right now. So if you guys have any questions, please type in the questions. So I would like to know, as far as your you do the easy movement. So do you do a newsletter, and people can
I do. I do. I have a weekly newsletter that came out this morning, and it's called The Easy Secret.
Yeah.
I have a Facebook page, The Easy Secret too, The Easy Secret Diet, I believe it's called. And of course, I do Dr. Money, because that's making our relationship easier with money too, and getting in right relationship with money.
Go deep with that. I want to go deep with that.
Well, I want to tell you about the EZosophy, and just go to kind of to the bottom line, and that is to use the 8-word miracle mantra. And the 8-word miracle mantra is, everything can be easy, or at least easier. And so it can be easy if it's made up stuff, like having to take the garbage out or having an appliance breakdown. But it can be, I'm sorry, it can be, did I say easy? It can be easy if it's just something that we've made up to suffer about. And it can be easier if we reach out or we reach in. We can reach out to friends and get help. We can go to counseling, or we can reach in, because there is such a deep inner strength there. So everything can be easy, or at least easier. So if there's a problem or a stressful time, it's like, let me stop. Can this be easy, or can it be easier? So I'm saying everything can be easier, regardless of the difficulty, the tragedy. Everything can be easier. And then there's another important thing to look at, and that is that we have built our lives on the belief that life is hard. That is in the cultural narrative. And life is hard, but it's not hard all the time. And so we have to say, when is it not hard? And then when can I take the times that are actually difficult and make them easier? And when can I just drop the drama? Because we are so addicted to drama. Extremely. It's crazy how we define ourselves by our drama. And if there's not real drama, we just make it up.
So you're a great resource for people to really rethink the way that they're approaching life, and to make better conscious choices by choosing what delights them, rather than the heavy stuff.
Well, and when I say choose what delights me, the task may not be delightful. I mean, in other words, it's not going to bring us joy, but the joy is already there before the task. So there's really no need to try to look externally to experience the ease and joy of our essence, because that's present. So it's really best to go into our essence and shine that essence onto any task that we have. And then everything becomes eliminated. Everything becomes, as Ram Dass would say, grist for the mill of awakening.
Exactly. Well, all the contrasts are here for you to see where you're triggered, so you can clean it up, right?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, the reason I say that is it's just in this moment, whatever I can recognize. I guess the only reason I'm saying that is that that is a thought about a process, and to move us really directly into it is that if we question every moment in terms of bringing it back to a focus, and as you would say, a conscious choice, then we don't even have to have a theory about it. That's all I'm saying. It's not that I disagree. It's just that the mind often tries to make a theory of something rather than actually going into the moment and just seeing how beautiful it is, just enjoying it, just allowing that love to be who we are, which is, of course, who we are. And so I'm just making a distinction between the theory and the experience.
Right. Well, I guess what I was trying to give the audience an idea about is that that we're in highly volatile times where a lot of disclosure is going to happen, and a lot of people's belief structures that they kind of banked on, that was their foundation of their beliefs, are going to be up for grabs. And so what you're offering is a path back to love, really, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it is true that there are universal calls for love and there are universal breakdowns. And I'm having a little bit of a distraction basically because for some reason I am having something talk in my ears. Now, I don't know how that is even possible, but there is something talking to me through my headphone and I don't know what it is. I'm wondering if I unplug.
Okay.
I'm going to try that and just see if you can hear me. Well, I'm afraid if I do that, then I'm going to go into this thing. I'll try to move on without while I'm listening to somebody talking in my.
A lot of times I get downloads like that, and a lot of times it's not words. It's like, and then you get the translation later. Is that what you're getting?
I don't know.
Oh.
I really don't know. It's very strange. But what I want to say is there are dark nights of the soul. And when I talk about EZosophy, I'm not saying that we're not going to have times when our lives are shattered. I am only saying that when they are shattered, it can be easier because there is a deep strength that can answer to that. And I woke up last week, I think it was Thursday or Wednesday morning, crying. And I just cried over the animals in Australia. And it was just such a very difficult thing. But there is a saying, and that is that we can learn from our pain, but we must lead from our joy. And I thought, I cannot stay here. I cannot be an effective person. And so I go into my inner sanctuary and I say, what can I do? How can I move? What's a different way to look at this? How deal with that? And can this be easier? And I almost felt like, gosh, if I feel really good while all the animals are dying, then there's something that I should be feeling guilty about. And it's like, no, you can't. But that's the way the ego at mind does.
Right.
It does everything it can to move us into a sense of guilt. And guilt is something that we begin in. If we look back into our history, we'll find that stories of guilt began thousands of years ago. And it was then codified in the Old Testament. If you look at the beginning of the Old Testament, you'll see this suffering and guilt starts. And this is not suffering and like because somebody cut their arm off. This is emotional suffering and pain. And that's followed us. And many people have read those words. So we have actually what's a mastermind of suffering that has followed us through generation after generation after generation. And we have to be the ones that are willing to break that. And the only way we can break it is, of course, is to break that chain within ourselves and and bring this easier living space and style and essence into our hearts and into our lives. And it can be done even when there is tragedy around us. And that's not disrespectful. The deal is if my life is good and I'm not suffering, then I feel like that I'm being iconoclast if I'm not enjoying what is before me, even if someone else is suffering.
Right.
I'm going to spend my time visualizing better things. I'm going to look at a vision for the world that works, and then I'm going to have to enjoy my life.
Right. Well, I want you to know a couple of the things that are coming through. Olivia Parr-Red says, yes, we are loved, with a big heart. And Zach Bergen says, change your mind, change your reality. Yep. And then Elsie Ritzenheim, who's a creativity expert, she says, where is the possibility space?
And okay, can you ask that in a minute? But I want to go, what was the second one? Change your mind, change your reality?
Change your reality.
Okay, and I want to say something about that because often when we talk about mind, we actually talk about the thoughts. And in the new narrative, I think that our thoughts are more and our mind is more than our thoughts. It includes our emotions. So we have our emotional minds too. And when we are triggered by our emotional minds, we have to deal with those triggers. And I think that often new thought and positive thinking, which is absolutely beautiful, has to include those elements, the triggers that we have emotionally, because they can just slay us.
Right.
I can be just in a wonderful place and then click, something happens and I'm down on the ground again. And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't say anything that we're not using things right or not. It is just that those emotional realities happen and we have to deal with them. We have to move ourselves into a higher space and a better space emotionally.
Right.
And the good thing about emotions is if I'm having a lot of fear, then of course safety and love would be on the other end of the scale. They're both a part of the same consciousness, and we can move ourselves up from this fear and just begin to move ourselves all the way up to this essence. And we do that through awareness of focus and attention.
Right.
And
It's the conscious choosing of the other two and awareness of the pattern, because once you can stop the pattern, the trigger, once you can address it and embrace it and process it, most of the time I think it all of the zigzag or the seesaw happens is because you never identified it, the shadow emotion. You never embraced it. You never saw the gift in it. So anything you resist persists, right?
yeah. And I want to mention that in changing that vibration, one of the things that works really well for me, just because I like to get physical rather than trying to figure things out, I like to get physical. And honestly, I'm going to move up a little bit. Let's see if I can move up here so you can see. And right between the chest here, this is called the Sea of Tranquility. And so if we tap on that thing, that's one of the things I begin to do to move myself up. First, I check my gut and I say, what's going on with my gut? And I can rub down, and that's the lower where the dantian, where down lower belly, and then I can go into the solar plexus and rub that, and then I can tap in the Sea of Tranquility. So I'm thinking one of the first things, even beyond understanding the pattern, which sometimes I do, but I like to go directly to the sensations in the body and work with those sensations and try to stop the story of what happened and just move into the sensation and work with that to heal.
So do you work with people when they go through their traumas?
Yes, I've worked with many people, yes.
Okay. So, and is that part of what you offer? I mean, what I've seen is that you're so generous with your knowledge and your expertise between the YouTubes and the newsletter. And do you have a book?
Yes, I have 5 books, but on this but this book right here is EZosophy, and that is the whole. That's the whole. Well, it's not the whole thing, but I mean that just explains EZosophy. It's got the 7 vows in it. It just explains it and talks about the history of how we've moved from a long time ago to present and so forth with suffering.
Okay. Well, something happened.
Can you see me now?
Yes, I can. I apologize. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So what Elsie was talking about with the possibility space.
Yeah, the possibility and creativity.
She has this wonderful PDF that she uses for creative thinking that is like a playground. And inside the playground is like a carousel that you can sit on either one of the seats and look at whatever problem or decision you need to make from all different spaces. And then you can sit in the middle is the possibility space, but you can also sit on these seats, or you can sit outside of the merry-go-round and carousel and look at everything from a different view. And that's what she was saying. Where is the possibility space with what you're doing? Does that make any sense to you?
Well, I'm not sure I understand. I can hang on to creativity. That I understand is creativity, and I just want to say in EZosophy is not I got a laugh. I don't know what these people are saying to me in my ears. But anyway, maybe if I take it off a little bit, they won't be so vocal, whatever they're trying to say. But EZosophy basically handles one thing, and that is it's a niche philosophy. It's to help us handle the egoic mind, because that interferes with so many different things. And so, when I might deal with people about their emotions if it comes to money, but I've got the whole thing about Dr. Money, which helps people deal with right relationship with money. So EZosophy does not cover everything. It just basically tries to move people from this fundamental decision that life is hard all the time to a decision that it just doesn't have to be that way, that we can lighten up. I think what we have is terminal seriousness as adults. We grow up, we think we have to be serious. And I also say in Dr. Money, and that is that silliness is sacred, because that lightens us up. That allows possibilities, that allows creativity. As we know, when we take away the drama, then what is left is this potential for anything. And so I'm about taking the drama away. And then once that's away, then the sky is the limit. So, to answer that, I'm basically about one niche with EZosophy, eliminating ego-driven struggle, suffering, sacrifice, and pain. I'll give you an example of what I call the hard-aholic mantra. A hard, H-A-R-D, a hard-aholic is someone who suffers about life. They make life hard and they suffer about it. And this is the hard-aholic's mantra, and that is, and you've seen that with people. You'll say something, and we do it ourselves. Once you do that, know that you are having a heart attack, an H-A-R-D, a heart attack. And that's our very sign. So that's where EZosophy is going, is about that one thing. And we might think that we don't have, I've been teaching this since the 80s, and I still use the philosophy daily. So, and maybe even sometimes hourly, just to smooth over and move over those moments.
So Rosemary's says, so true. Right relationship begins with self, big self, little self. So yeah, perfect. And so what I love about what you're doing is that a lot of the people I work with are doing much more transcendental explanations about the energy, more Eastern kind of explanations about what we're going through. And what you're doing is creating a very practical, useful way to flip where you are and use it right now and change your situation without having to understand quantum physics.
Right. Yeah, I do like to make it simple. And, sometimes there is something that will call to us in quantum physics that will really ignite our heart, that will inform our soul. But other times it's intellectual, because a lot of times what we do is that we do take a lot of head stuff and we go through it. I noticed that there's a couple of things, and that is, often if I'm afraid I'll get intellectual, and if I think I'm dumb, I'll get intellectual, because I'm really trying to prove to myself and others that I'm smart. And so I'll look at that, and there is a room for that. That there is a space for that. But everything, all the facts really, I think, need to be sourced from the heart, or they just are not applicable.
Exactly. That's what I think a lot of this stuff is. But it's all bridges. It's all everyone. The quantum physics detail that's validating what the Eastern religions and anyone who's had a spiritual experience can testify their experience is very similar. Quantum physics is now just calibrating it and validating it. But it's still, we're supposed to be working from here now, not here. So, we can combine all three brains. There's a brain in the Dantian, there's brain here, and then there's a brain here. But this is the one that's firing up for 2020 and beyond. This one, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll say in 1997, I had another really awakening experience where I moved away from this kind of conversation because I awakened to the truth of myself. And when I awakened to the truth of myself, there was no method, there was no technique, there was nothing that could be said because that interfered with the complete peace that I had. And it took me, that is the time that I closed my church, because I had such a radical awakening, realizing once more that no one needs anything, that we already have what we have or what we need, because we are who we are. You can't, you don't take donkey lessons if you're, a donkey. You're a donkey. That's it. Well, we are infinite beings, and we're gods. We don't take those kinds of lessons because that is who we are. And when I had that deep realization, I thought, well, it's a good thing that I hadn't really gotten that off the ground with my career that much, because what I'm teaching is not valid. But it took me years, and I began to teach some of the Aveda, the non-duality of the experience that I was having. But what I realized is that is not where I most come from. That is not my gift as a teacher. And even, in Aveda or non-duality, we'll say there are no teachers, and they aren't. Essentially there are no teachers, but then we kind of can get into some word games when we go there. And so I've just found out that I'm really good in helping people have easier lives and to have more fun in life. And then everything else just kind of falls into place.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And I relate to your journey where basically you started out as a young girl in conditional love, trying to be a good girl.
Yeah.
I can relate to that too. And then you realize it's like, how do you play this game? There's not any real love here. And then you experience true love, the full embodiment of it. And then the next phase is, how do I be that? Right? And that's where I think your work really could help support people to be that.
Well, I think I will mention that a friend of mine described this particular book. Like I said, I have several books, but this particular book, she said, which is called Standing in the Dark.
Uh-huh.
She says, I love that book because that really tells you how to do spirituality.
Uh-huh.
And it's really just it's a bunch of essays about my life. But I'll give you an example of one thing in that book, and that is that it's called My 50 Feet. And that is, I heard someone speak from Heart Math, and they say that if you put probes on your head and you move them out 50 feet, so to a rock, and you're angry, they can get a reading from the rock that shows that anger.
Right.
So I start thinking 50 feet. Now, if I go all the way around 50 feet, that is a lot of space.
Yes.
And so the question I began to ask myself is, what am I doing with my 50 feet? Think about being in a football stadium and you've got 50 feet around you, and it's like, gosh, you're a minister. You've got your own congregation right there within 50 feet. And I went into a store one day, and this woman was so illuminated. She was one of the sales clerks, and everyone that talked to her was so happy, and she was so nice to me. And I said, you are doing wonderfully with your 50 feet, because she had changed the vibration of the entire store, because I've been there when she wasn't there. So she was really taking care of her 50 feet. And it's about being the center of love. And that's a conscious awareness. It's as you call it, you're using the choice. It's a choice not to be out there. It's a choice to be in here. And so that's one of the practical applications that we can have, something real and tangible to ourselves, to our mind, to our heart.
Perfect. Well, Olivia wrote, no more victim, no more drama, in a big heart again. So that's what, I mean, all of this is wonderful ways to look at life in a different way, and to see, I mean, the triggers are a gift. Those things that still get a reaction from you are things that
you know what I always say?
What?
That system sucks. we're all there, and we know it is true that and that's what we finally, after just kind of writhing in pain, we have to stop and look what's going on and see what is there, and how does this help me in my healing journey, because it's here to help me heal.
Right. Right. So let's talk a little bit about Dr. Money. Just
Okay.
as it's humorous, and I've watched probably 5 or 6 of your videos, and enjoyed them a lot. So where did that come from? The inspiration for Dr. Money?
Well, let me just introduce myself. Hi
Okay.
there, I'm Dr. Money, and I'm coming to you from the prosperity corner of the universe, where silliness is sacred and nobody's perfect. I am your professor of prosperity. And where this came from actually was it was a universal kick in the butt.
Oh,
I kept hearing a voice that said, you have to start a page called Abundance Affirmations. And I don't want to start a page called Abundance Affirmations. And then I'd hear it again. And I just kept hearing it. And I just said, okay, I'm going to start a page called Abundance Affirmations. And everything just kind of came to me and developed. And I'm not really a channel, but I do believe that the veil is very thin for all of us. And so a lot of my material just really springs forth very, very quickly. And that was an idea. And I just listen and say, let me be of service. And that's what happened was Dr. Money. And I really wanted to be like this deep inspiration where people would look at me and say, isn't she wise? Isn't she wise? And it's like, no,
it's not happening.
that's not happening. She's joyful, but she's not necessarily wise. Maybe I say some things that are wise, but if people think of me, they usually think of something silly or something fun, which is absolutely fine. But my ego says, no, you want to be you want to be respectable and everything. And J. Krishnamurti says that is kind of the death knell to spirituality, and that is trying to appear respectable. And I call myself an unprofessional speaker. I'm unprofessional because trying to be professional is so heavy. Trying to make everything work out. For example, as we were speaking, my dog was barking. Well, a lot of people just wouldn't, they would have figured out before that they shouldn't have their dog in here. And as many times since I've been interviewed.
We're fine. I mean, the thing is, for the most part, life needs to lighten up. And we can do that because we came here this was supposed to be heaven on earth. We were here to have this wonderful experience to co-create with the universe and expand it. And instead, we somehow took on this global consciousness of victimization and made ourselves small. And it's time. It's 2020. We got a new decade. We're Age of Aquarius. It's time to open this party up and co-create with each other, right?
Well, it is. One thing I want to say about that, because sometimes when we make a real statement like that, what it does is it does bring up the shadow. So because you make that kind of declaration. So I like to really say that we need loads of compassion, just great amount of grace. And so wherever we are in the moment, that's really the only important thing. Maybe we have suffered in the past, maybe we will suffer in the next moment, but only this present moment is the thing that is important to us, because in this moment, even if we're suffering, we can offer grace and compassion, and that helps lift the suffering. I'd like to share a couple of the mantras that I have for the Dr. Money. And these I started early off. I think I've done over 600 videos, but I started early off, and this is one of my favorite, and that is perfect timing, perfect order, perfect timing, perfect order, perfect timing, perfect order, perfect timing, perfect order. You probably recognize the melody. It's an old commercial. However, that helps calm me down when I do that. And it applies to so many things. So that's one. And the other one that helps calm my mind down, that brings me back to a sense of abundance, because that's what I'm talking about, and know that abundance and ease are really first cousins. So, and you can't just have one without the other. So the other one is, I have what I need when I need it. Perfect. And to me, that is just a supreme affirmation. I have what I need when I need it. And then the third affirmation, which is obviously, this is the ultimate prosperity affirmation, and that is simply, I love you. That is the greatest prosperity affirmation. I love you. But the other two Not to negate that one. The other two, just for me, have been profound. I have what I need when I need it. And the more I say that affirmation, the more I embody that affirmation, it's just the most amazing things happen in my life. From like, I mean, we'll need a paper clip. And I'll look on the floor and there's a paper clip. So that is that affirmation serves from the minuscule to the great.
That's perfect. And again, this is again a way to lighten up where you trust that everything's in divine order and that everything is perfect for you. And a lot of times I do think that we're coming into such a different, the internet has changed everything, where we have access to so many wonderful tools and opportunities to grow. And I hope that everyone will take time and enjoy and stuff. She's got the website, which is AnnGillis.com, and you can subscribe to her newsletter that we're talking about. She has her YouTube channel, which is Dr. Money. And, these are.
And then I think I have another YouTube channel for EZosophy as well.
You do, okay.
But I think if you search my name, Ann Sermons Gillis, you can come up with the channels.
So how do you see this new year, new decade? Are you optimistic about these changes?
I am, what I see is that there are always going to be tragedies that will be in this year as well. And the only thing that I can really do, and that is to manage what is going on for me in the present moment. Because if I try to look out, I will get depressed. But even, I mean, think of it, if I have to clean my house up and I look at the whole house, I go, oh my gosh. But if I look at one corner of my home and clean that up, then there's no problem. We're getting ready to move. We finally sold our house and we're planning on moving. It looks like we're going to be moving at the beginning of May. And when I look at the whole house and I think about packing it, it is just a mess. But when I just look at one room, I think I can pack, I can do that room. And I can get rid of everything in that room. Let's do it a little bit at a time. So if we take everything that's coming in 2020 on our heart, we can't make it. It's too much. And it's not meant to be.
I see.
Because it's really not. It's not ours to do. What ours is to do is to really be the light, and then to meet each moment with the light.
Right. That's so perfect. That's so wonderful. I love this. I love that you have all these wonderful tools and gifts. I mean, you're so generous with what you've done, and thank you so much. You really have a lot of free information that people can really take to heart and have wonderful experiences with. Anything else that you'd like to share? I'm putting up your website, and I did mention to join your newsletter. And where are your books available on your website?
They are. My books are available on my website. You have to really be good to get to them, but you have to go through a lot. The person that designed my page, you have to go through products and you have to go through books and so forth. But they're there. You can find them, and preferably you'll buy them from me rather than from Amazon. Well, here's what I'd like to, when I say Amazon, because they'll all be used books and I won't get any money. But that's okay. The biggest thing is not money. And I actually absolutely love receiving money as well. So anywhere you go on that, it'll move the money. So here's something. Do you hear my dog barking?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, she's singing. This is my choir. Joy to the world, the time has come to have a little fun. We frowned and frowned. Our smiles are upside down. We've been too serious. We've been too serious. We've been too serious. So we want to lighten up about life, and we want to lighten up about money. We want to lighten up about finances. We want to lighten up about and move from lack to a living in abundance.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. And you have your backup band going in the back.
Yeah, my backup band. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you, Kathy.
Right. I'm so glad. I look forward to meeting you in person. I also want to thank Noelle and Bob Marshall Warner, for introducing me to you. You're such a joy. Thank you for all your gifts. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate it. Take
Yeah.
care.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank
Bye-bye. I love you guys.